New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring. Hello again, dear ones. Reverend Robert with you over here.
Rev Z right here.
And Rev Celeste.
And this is New Thought Today, a weekly program that happens on Tuesday afternoons where we get together and look at the New Thought principles and how what we're doing today affects the future of what we get to do. So, Reverend Celeste, you're back with us. You were with us, I think, almost not quite a year ago. You were here on the program with us, so we're very grateful you're back with us. And I'm sure everybody is, if you haven't seen that episode, folks, we'll go search it in the archives. But if you would, do us the pleasure, share with everybody a little bit of who you are and where you are, and we'll get to what you're doing in a little bit. But where are you and who are you?
Well, I am, among other things, a New Thought minister, specifically a CSL ordained minister, and I am in the Chicago area, about 10 miles west of downtown specifically. And my ministry is inclusive of pulpit, but not as a full-time pulpit minister. I'm also doing podcasts. I'm also doing writing. I'm also doing event organizing and diversity work and writing. So I stay pretty busy.
I was going to say, ooh, I'm tired right now.
I think that I don't remember exactly when, but from very on in my time within the New Thought movement, and that's almost 20 years now, your name has always been somewhere. And you've always struck me as one of those tireless individuals that is always finding new and unique and innovative ways to bring forth the New Thought philosophy into the world. And I love that.
Oh, thank you so much. The tireless maybe doesn't apply as much over the last couple of years since I'm getting deeper into my 60s. But thank you for that.
Tireless sets in.
Yeah, I think that's why it used to be that people retired at 65. So
yes.
Yeah. But I do what I'm driven to do.
Yeah. And I think that's the case with spiritual work. It's that kind of endeavor where even when you get to the point to where you say, man, I'm tired, that spirit just kind of bubbles up and say, are you really tired? If I give you a little boost here, can you get out there and advocate, if you will, for me, and let people know that with the spirit, all things are possible. And
yes,
and so I love
with the
that.
spirit and a lot of naps.
Yes.
But not in the next 45 minutes, folks.
No.
Okay, no naps right now. We've got some great things to talk about with you folks. If you're just joining us, this is New Thought Today. Our special guest today, Reverend Celeste Frazier from Chicago. We're going to be out in your area coming in July, Celeste, for the International New Thought Affiliations Annual Congress. And you actually, we had a chance to be together last week at the Affiliated New Thought Networks one-day virtual retreat. You gave a great keynote. And what was it like to be more of a keynote in the virtual world? I know you've had a lot of history on stages and in churches. How has the switch from the physical to the virtual been for you over the last couple of years?
Well, I don't necessarily feel full out. I feel like I'm in a little bit of a box. I'm not able to walk around and show the full body experience. And so I like engaging, with live audience. So I'm grateful that places are opening or already open right now, so that I have more of those opportunities. But you know what? The convenience of virtual is just priceless. People don't have to go anywhere, and you can still get a significant amount of people in the room.
Yeah, and I think that's so key, because one of the things I'm hearing from a lot of colleagues across the spiritual spectrum is, given where we are in spiritual community and things, what does it look like going forward? And of course, the new word is hybrid, right? So
Right.
how do we get a hybrid situation set up that allows those who need to, want to, have to be in a place to get that spark, and those who are able to get it at home? And so it's going to require some new thinking of how we do things, and given the way the economy is, it's going to be some economic decisions that have to be made. But we know we can work through those, but they still have to be put on the table to do simulcasts, maybe, or whatever that works out to be, whether we live a couple of days and virtual a couple of days. It's going to be all manner of things, which I think in the long run will be great, because they're always going to be those people who are never, or almost never, going to set foot in a brick and mortar place, because that's just not who they are.
And there may be, physical abilities that are limiting, but I think it's really going to call for creativity. And in the realm of technology, we can do it. We can make the boxes maybe a little longer, so people can see your whole body. We can find a way to plug the audience in with cameras so that there can be reactions to different things. And it's possible. We just haven't been forced to figure it out before now.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, well, as we said in the beginning, all things are possible with Spirit. So we just got to start asking Spirit, guide us to this place. We're willing and able, so just guide us. We're ready to go.
Yes.
Wonderful. It was great seeing you on this conference, and we're looking forward to more and more of that. Folks, we're going to share with you in just a little while here something really big that's going on. Celeste mentioned she's event producing now and creating events. So she and Reverend Z and a whole team of people have come together to create something really, really, really unique. We're going to talk about that a little bit more down the road here today. But before we get into all of that, what I'm hoping that you'd be willing to share with us, Celeste, is over this past few years, as we're talking about this shift from the physical to the virtual, and a lot of people have gotten really close to being right up front and real tight with people, these boxes that we talk about. As we move forward, what is it you hope to see? What's your heart calling you to, as far as what's the next expression of beyond the hybrid, even of how do we take the lessons we've learned of being in the virtual world? How can we bring those back into the physical world a little bit?
Wow. Well, that's a big question. And I hadn't really had a moment to explore it, but off the cuff, I would say probably if we can do something that that maybe will have a little bit of audience warm up, where you're maybe getting interviews from the audience about what's about to happen, almost like how you do a television show. Maybe have a little bit of interaction, with the speaker and the audience, and before, the so-called big event starts, and just to kind of get the chemistry up a little bit. I think people will be more engaged. I noticed that some speakers now are having marathon sessions without breaks and expecting people to be interactive simply because of their will. But you do have to give people some inspiration to get them engaged,
Yeah, absolutely. Folks, if you're wondering what you stumbled into today, this is New Thought Today on the New Thought Media Network. If you'd like to chat along, please do. Feel free to drop a comment in the box. If you'd like to ask a question of our guest, please do as well. Reverend Celeste Frazier is an ordained minister with the Centers for Spiritual Living and been working on a number of different projects. We're going to take a real quick break. And actually, this might be, well, Celeste, you've seen the previews of this. But we're finally, I think, at a point where we can release the video. And so let's do that. Let's share everybody with a little bit of this. We'll come right back and talk more about what all this means in just a moment. Stay with us. And more of New Thought Today here on the New Thought Media Network. Our guest today, Rev Celeste Frazier. Welcome again, dear one. Now, so we just saw this video here. This is the big secret we've been keeping, or not, from everybody. You are instrumental in putting together what's known as Celebrating Our Soul. A conference, a one-time event at this point. Maybe it'll end up annual. We'll see. But tell us a little bit more about it. Z, I see your name and picture in there, and Reverend Celeste is a keynote, and we know instrumental. Help everybody understand a little bit of what's happening here and why it's important we get involved.
First of all, I want to just comment on how wonderful the video that you created is being received. I've heard nothing short of excellent. So thanks for doing a great job on that. The backstory of this is that we are New Thought people, and we are people of African descent who are producing this. The thing about being people of African descent in New Thought is that we don't often see our culture revealed in a lot of New Thought spaces that have traditionally been a little bit more structured in alignment with early American ideals. Although there's very advanced spiritual principles, the audiences and the flavor of the African American experience haven't necessarily been revealed on a consistent basis in New Thought centers around the country and presumably around the world. I've not been to New Thought centers outside of the country. I know they exist. But what we have done as African Americans from Centers for Spiritual Living, from Unity, from Universal Foundation for Better Living, I won't use acronyms that people aren't familiar with, from a number of different New Thought organizations, Anton, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance. From different organizations, there's a little bit of our presence, but not a lot of our flavor. And so this conference is bringing our flavor to the forefront. And although everybody is really, really excited when maybe a gospel choir comes to a conference every 10 years, but this is more like, this is what connects us to our roots. And that's exactly why we're taking a journey from Africa to present day, being poised for the future. And the music reflects that. You know, we start off with some ritual that's rooted in African tradition, a libation, which is to begin with the permission of an ancestor. You know, some type of live plant is watered, and we acknowledge our ancestors as being the means by which we got here. So we start with that. We have an African dance troupe coming in the first night. We have some wonderful speakers throughout. So we go from Africa to America. We go to the whole Reconstruction and Renaissance movement, and we go to the Civil Rights era, and then we come into being poised for the future. And so a lot of our music is represented from these different eras. And so we have wonderful people like Michael Beckwith, like Sheila McKeithen, Bishop Yvette Plunder, like Dr. James Trapp, like Bishop Jack Bomar and Reverend Derek Wells, all as keynotes. And we have some wonderful workshop presenters with a full range of subjects, from prosperity to a medical doctor, to storytelling, to Egyptology, to African spirituality, which is really the basis for New Thought. You know, the ancient wisdom that they talk about derives from the African spirituality that we usually don't hear much about in the classes that we have in New Thought centers and classrooms. So we have people like Reverend Galen McDowell, Dr. Liza Swidarski, who'll be really focusing on medicine for people of African descent, and not only the disparities, but some information about how they can support themselves and be supported. Dr. Will Kuhlman, who is a foremost scholar in African spirituality, in the Bible, in Latin and Greek, and he ties everything together so beautifully. Reverend Alberta Ware, Reverend Vernell Nelson, Reverend Elzia Sekou, I think y'all might know him, Reverend Vianella Vaughn Austin, Reverend Kevin Ross, Reverend Michelle Jordan will be doing a vocal workshop. Reverend Charlene Manuel, who was one of the architects of the international conference that happens every few years, and she was instrumental in the last one, and Reverend Sandra Campbell. And we have some excellent musicians like John Stringer, Esther Nicholson, Michelle Jordan. We have Bukeka Blakemore and Lee Langston, and, you know, a wonderful music team that's led by Angela Ward. So we got some local musicians, and then we've got musicians coming from East, West, South. And it's just going to be powerful. We'll have energy workers there. We'll have vendors there. It's going to be a big old party, and we are ready for it.
Yes. So, Z, you're going to be there. Give us a little bit of how'd you get all involved with this?
Well, in actuality, this was supposed to happen in 2021, I think it was, and COVID. I forget the dates now; it's all blurred.
Oh no, this always been the date. We just did we did the fundraiser in 21.
Right, we did the fundraiser, and so it came out of the Juneteenth that we did on the fundraiser. And you know, I have done a lot of study in ancient Egypt, and from an Islamic perspective, which is in my mind, and the geographic stands out for itself, is an extension of Africa. And so to look at that, as Reverend Celeste was saying, about the roots of the ancient wisdom of ancient Kemet and how it flowered so many different traditions. And if we look at how that got codified in today's language, you only need look at Masons and Elks and Rosicrucians and Eastern Stars, all these different mystery systems. At some level, you get to a point to where they point to Egypt. And most of those levels, if not almost all of them, are at the higher levels. And so to be able to show, like with all of our history, that we have a pivotal, if not genesis, of a lot of the knowledge and information across the spectrum to be provided to the world, and we need to have it put in its proper perspective so that people can really grow. Because if I'm looking at the root of the plant, but I'm only recognizing the fruit, then I'm missing something. And so we need to be able to honor the whole tree, the roots, the fruit, the seeds, the leaves. And so that's what my passion is about it. And I'm so thankful for Celeste for kicking this off and getting it in a place to where ideally and hopefully we can be annual. So I'll be quiet because I get excited, and I'm gonna hold tight right there.
Well, you know, this
That's why we pay
started.
you the big bucks.
This started when Unity would do retreats every once in a while with Black ministers, and my prayer partner said, "Well, do you want to invite CSL in?" And I did, and then and we just kept inviting people from different aspects of New Thought to participate in this, so that it's truly a family affair, as Jimi Hendrix might say.
Yeah.
Yes. And let's make sure everybody's fully aware, this is not exclusively for people of color or people of African descent.
Right.
All are welcome. There's a youth program. Tell us a little bit more about the youth program.
Oh, wow. There is so much going on with the youth program. The youth program has so much activity going on in terms, they're having like a scavenger hunt, like we're doing a trip into Kansas City. They have, a lot of African traditions that they're creating. They're building a village, and Reverend Jerry Hobby is a master at doing that. I saw what she did at the Riverside Church like 20 years ago. It was just amazing. So they're creating conversations around baobab trees, like creating an African atmosphere. John Stringer is working with them to teach them how to write a song. They have all kinds of wonderful educational and creative opportunities for the youth. They are creating tribe documents, and it's just, they're just having a really good time, with the idea of educating our young people in a way that honors our culture. And that's not something that you get in any of the unified school districts around the country. So we're just grateful that there's an enthusiastic bunch of people that are doing that. In addition to Reverend Jerry, there's people like Okosawa Woods Washington, and there's Barbara Imaria, and there's Lucian Baker. And, there's just a lot of people. The people are coming up from Jamaica that are working with the youth, and from UFBL with Reverend Sheila McKeithen's center. And, it's just nothing but enthusiasm around the youth aspect. And no, it is not just for Black people. In fact, I have another community that I work with that's mainly white who have rented out the Airbnb on the campus, and I'm inviting everybody. Now, I can't account for anybody's comfortability. The thing is, it's us producing it. It's not just for us. But if you say you want to know about the culture, this would be a good thing to come to. And if you say you want to know about the roots of New Thought, this would be a very good thing to come to. And if you say you want to be in the conversation, you'll have, someone like Michelle Senegal, who's had over 30 years of working in the diversity, equity, and inclusion space, who's actually going to give us an exercise where we can start to utilize these kind of skills that people say that they need. So there's ample opportunity for non-people of color or non-Black people to participate in this and get enrichment and a sense of confidence about being in that conversation.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And that's
we like to say melanin challenged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know,
this part of the team here.
Yeah, no. And you know, I think the point that I think is crucial is, at least from my perspective, is that if we are going to begin to take the tagline, a world that works for all, a world that works for everyone, right? We have to begin to understand at a more holistic level the different parts that make up the whole, right? It's just like the body, right? We have people who specialize in the heart or the respiratory or the endocrine or all these different systems within the body, but all that does some good, but it only works perfectly when it's all together, because if the circulatory system is not circulating blood back and forth, there's a challenge, and that body cannot be as engaged and as lively and vibrant to create and include everybody, because the circulatory is going to help everything in the system. And so that's how I look at this, in that by getting a better understanding of the African or the people of color cultural understanding. And of course, we know at a deeper level, the culture deals with not just art and song and dance. It actually deals with the root and philosophy of a people, and everything else extends from that as a representation of it. So when we can really begin to do that and see that, now we got some real connections, because everything at some point will intersect. And it's those intersection points where we begin to make ground and establish true relationship. And then, like all thing else, is always expanding.
Yeah. Expansion is definitely a key feature of this event. We have some people who are dealing with the body aspect, some people who are dealing with the spirit aspect, some people who are dealing with the emotional aspect, right? Mm-hmm. And we have some spiritual practices that are supporting people. We've got a prayer room. We've got daily morning meditations. Plus we have an active live guided meditations as one of the plenary sessions after we have the diversity, equity, and inclusion conversation, so that we can be in that vibration in an uplifting way. And so we have just some people who will help us process. Sometimes you bump up against yourself when you're getting deeper spiritually, when you're getting a spiritual understanding. So there'll be people there that'll be doing pranic energy work available to people to go through the healing process, and Reiki and Chinese foot reflexology and like that, to really create an all dimensional support system for everybody who attends. So I think, talking about a crossroads, we're also going to have books available by the keynotes and the workshop presenters, and the music will be available from all of the musicians who are participating in this event, and they're very prolific with their music. So there's so many opportunities for growth and enjoyment, and it's just exciting to think about it.
There's been such a talk in New Thought over the last few years or so of, yes, diversity and inclusion, and truthfully, it feels like there's been a lot of talk, but not a lot of moving our feet. And this, to me, is an expression of not only moving our feet, but giving people that don't have the ability, the opportunity to be engaged in a culture other than their predominant upbringing or their predominant surroundings. I'm currently in a 12-step program from the Recovery of the Lie of Whiteness with Reverend Dr. David Alexander. It's a 6-week program and developing his work in a workbook and all this stuff. And I was unpleasantly surprised by not only how few people there were doing the work, but of those that are doing the work, people that feel they don't have the opportunity to engage or even be exposed to a culture other than their predominant white cisgendered experience. And we're doing that fifth step, right, where you take the inventory of the people you've wronged, and some of the people in our class were saying, I don't have anyone of color in my life that I can go share this with. And that pained me, that hurt me, and that was a slap reminder that, no, wait, this is still going on. There's still places in the world where people cannot feel they cannot, or are so insulated into the whiteness of life that there isn't this opportunity. So you're providing such a rich and amazing, and what I can see on paper is an incredibly authentic immersion, if you will, into a culture that for some, may be a little scary, may feel a little uneasy, and you've given it the thought to provide the healing modalities to follow up on with it as well.
Yeah, well, tell your friends they can come to the barbecue.
Yeah, exactly.
and hopefully we may have a drum circle, and then that'll help set it off real nice. I mean, one thing we can say, I've had friends tell me that were white and have been involved in some events that I've been involved in. It may be a little challenging, I'll say, is for lack of a better word, when they first come, and they may feel a little uncomfortable. But once the laughter and the joy and the exchange and the colors and the sights and the sounds begin to take place, there's that autonomical aspect that happens in the body that takes over, and all of that gets released, right? And the whole meaning of it takes a village becomes visceral. You see what it means to be in village, to be engaged in all these different conversation and dance and song and laughter and eating, and it really begins to embody what it means to say, hey, how you doing, friend, or whatever. Can I help you? Let's sing together. And that's what we have to do more of. And in those, over those tables and over those songs and in between steps in the dance, we have a chance to exchange ideas and say, oh, I never knew this about your culture. Oh, yeah, well, that, this, and the other. And I never knew this about your culture. And so now we begin the flowering of humanity and putting everyone at a pivotal point in the evolution of mankind.
Well, I got to tell you, and you guys can feel free to invite people from the CSL listserv too. The way to get out of your comfort zone, you have to take the first step. Like, some of the people who are invited to show up are, taking advantage of it. And most of the people who have been taking advantage of it so far have been people who have already oriented themselves to being around Black people. And so this is not something that people need to be intimidated by, but it's an opportunity for you to be in a space that's safe, and to be able to be in a true learning curve and have fun. I mean, yeah, we got African drummers the first night. Yes, we have a DJ the first night and the last night. We have opportunities to party, and everybody likes Black music. I don't care where you're from. So, it's there for you. You might as well enjoy it.
Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely. So, folks, if you're stumbling in here wondering what we're talking about today, this is New Thought Today on the New Thought Media Network. Our special guest is Rev Celeste Frazier, and we're talking about the Celebrating Our Soul conference that's going to happen later this year at Unity Village. And, Z, you went and said it. I heard you say it. You said something about meeting at the table. And it reminded me how good the food is at Unity Village. So, folks, if we're not enticing you enough with the content and the amazingness of all of this, trust me, you'll be fed very well. You'll have a really good time because of with the food. So
Yeah, I just went down for a food tasting like a couple of weekends ago. And we are going to bring in a Black business to do the soul food night, though. There's just some things you just can't fake, but they do excellent at everything else. And I had to take one for the team by doing not all by myself, but being part of the food tasting. So I know there's going to be some good eating there. I'm just telling you now.
Oh, yeah. So if you want to learn more, you can head over to their website, now write this one down, PAD, People of African Descent, PAD, NT, New Thought, G, we'll ask what the G is for in a second, .org. But this is here on your screen. We'll scroll through here a little bit. You can learn more about the keynote presenters that are going to be here. That lineup alone is just amazing. The fabulous workshop presenters that are here, the music team. You can learn so much more about what's happening and get registration. And the early bird pricing is still open, from what I understand. So let's tell us a little bit
for 3.5 more days. April 30th is the last day for early registration. Then it bumps up $95 to $440. So you do want to get in. And Robert, the G stands for group. We are incorporated. We are a 501c3 corporation. And G stands for group. And our email address is padntginc@gmail.com. padntginc@gmail.com. So if you have questions, that will be the way to do it. You can also call us at 631-771-0051. 631-771-0051. So there's lots of ways to reach out, get your questions answered. And we're working on a lot of things to support. We've got a lot of hotel blocks in the area. We've already taken over the conference center, the hotel on the grounds for all of our presenters, of which we have several. And yet we've also got some discounts for people to come in the area. We're working on some transportation deals now, including that tour into Kansas City, but also we're investigating doing some other things to make it a little easier for people who are traveling to feel supported.
Right on. Good. All right, folks, we're going to take a real quick break here, give our sponsors just a moment, and give Celeste and ourselves a chance to grab a drink of water and be with and catch our breath. So stick around, just a couple of quick commercials. We'll be right back with more of New Thought Today in just a moment. Stay tuned. we're back with more of New Thought today here on the New Thought Media Network. I'm Rev Robert, joined by my co-host Reverend Alzia and our special guest, Rev Celeste Frazier. If you're just tuning in, we've been talking about the People of African Descent New Thought Conference that's happening later this year in August. Now, I am so upset. I'm so bummed about this one because I'm not going to be able to be there. I'm going to be in Geneva that same week. However, Z, you're going to be there. And so, folks, if you're a fan of New Thought Media Network and you want to engage in it and with what we're doing and attend this amazing event, we're going to continue to provide you with resources and access to that. The website, the show link, or the link to the website is in the show notes. And over the next 3 months, we have arranged with you, Celeste, and all of the presenters that are part of your organization here, this great impulse in the mind of God that's coming through. A lot of your presenters and workshop hosts are going to be appearing on this program over the next 3 months. So be sure to stay with us, folks. Keep tuning back in. Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith will be with us on the 24th of May. Reverend Linda McLeod will be with us on May 10th and throughout the month of June, July, and even into the right up until almost the day before the conference. We've got some of your folks coming on to share with us and explain why this is so important. And again and again and again, we hear people, especially those of us of a lighter hue, saying we need to listen more and we want to listen more. And I don't see any opportunity out there quite as amazing as this one to be in a place of listening and be in that place to learn. And that's been the theme of our conversation today. So my next question is, as someone that maybe is going to attend the event or someone attending the event of a lighter hue, if somebody doesn't have a lot of experience being around a culture of color, what would be some suggestions of how to enter into this conference if somebody is feeling a little apprehensive or is a little unsure of what they're going to experience?
Well, like I was saying the other day at the Anton virtual conference, we're part of the same substance. We're not aliens from another planet. We're all here together by divine design. And so a hello, a smile can start a lot of conversations. We don't have to start the conversation with what our differences are, but we can begin the conversation with what is in common. Like, well, I'm from Unity. What part of New Thought are you from? Or are you from New Thought at all? Is this new to you? How to feel comfortable? It's got to be an inside job, just like everything else. But a willingness, the easiest part. The rest of it is easy after that.
And you sparked something. A colleague of mine just shared a video with me called Mission Joy, with Desmond Tutu and the Dalai Lama. They were friends, and it was a program. I think it may have been, some of the interviews were done in 2015, 2016, and they just released it. But that idea of, whether you're New Thought or not, this idea of spirit does not have a denomination. It does not have a label other than spirit. And if you don't like spirit, you can choose another one. But there is an intelligence, an energy, a spirit, a presence that is all inclusive. And when we can take time, as was shown in this video, this film rather, to understand and get beyond the seemingly differences, which we think are big, but when we really look at it, it's just languaging about some small stuff, right? The big stuff we all agree on, and it's all the same, right? And so when we can begin to focus on that and slowly work in these passionate little bitty nuances and realize that, hey, that's not that different. It may be a more metaphysical language or be a more metaphoric or more simile type of language to get to the same point. We can begin to make progress. or better progress or quicker progress. We're making it already.
8 years ago, when the Centers for Spiritual Living Diversity Commission started, I was one of the first trainers, and I developed some workshops to support people in being in the conversation. You know, you got to be in the conversation. But the curricula that the commission established started with the basic premise of oneness, you know, and to really show how to live oneness and not simply just talk about it. We're good in the cerebral realm, and we've got to drop that other foot to get to the heart. That's where the real healing, that's where the real connections happen. And then when we're willing to be in conversation, then we can be respectful of each other's hearts. We don't have to feel guarded or even afraid, because we're all God. And I'm knowing that there's people that are also God that don't know it. But when you're coming into a spiritual conference, rest assured, in the case of Celebrating Our Soul, that you're coming into some open-hearted people who want to see more expansion of hearts and who want to be part of that process.
I think that's one of the most important factors, really, in any conference. I agree with you. We can intellectualize the oneness very easy, until we're met by someone screaming in our face a contradictory point to our own, or a perspective or a viewpoint other than our own. And New Thought teaches us at the intellectual level the truth of the oneness, but we have to get out in the streets and practice that too.
Right.
And get out there and be willing to listen, but also to be willing to dive into experiences that we may not have a lived experience of, but trust we can always learn in it. And again, in this case, it's safe. It's predominantly people that are going to already be on board with the belief systems that you're bringing in the door.
You know, about, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, because Johnny Coleman was still alive when she came to one of our CSL conferences. And it was very special. But, you know, one of her progenies, Gayla McDowell, who is one of our workshop presenters. And some people are workshop presenters not merely because not because they're not keynote worthy, but it's because they have a longer time to give you more than the keynotes do. So, right. You know, he was talking about how the people who ring your doorbells on Saturday morning are committed. You know, they don't stop. They will show up every Saturday morning. And, you know, that's the way we have to be about our growth. That's the way that we have to be about our spirituality. Because if we ever get lazy and decide, well, I don't feel like it today, then that's when the growth stops. And if you've got some investment into your spiritual growth, there is not ever a good time to stop. And so you may even think of coming to a conference where you are not the majority as a means by which you can spiritually grow, because whatever needs to be healed, if it's fear or misplaced guilt, you know, you're not responsible for what your forefathers did, but you are responsible for what you do now. Right. So I just invite everybody to participate in building a greater future by coming together.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can't stress enough as people of African descent that I think trying to get the right words here. You know, I think in terms of being open-armed and ready to move forward, I think you're not going to find a group of people that are more willing to move forward. Now, there are things that need to be discussed and all of that. But we understand, you know, you can't move forward looking backwards. And so we remember the past so that we're anchored when we see things that may give us an inkling of something, but we're looking to a future that is bright, that is holistic, that is gathered together in spirit, because we know in spirit all of the superficial will fall away once we can be thoroughly immersed in the spirit.
And I'm glad you mentioned, I'm glad you mentioned looking back, because our logo has the Sankofa, which is an African symbol of a bird who does look back for the wisdom in order to prepare for the present and future. And, the perception a lot of times is that, that Black people want to complain about what happened in the past. We're not looking for retribution for what has happened, but we are ready to be responsible for what happens now. And so that's what you call less melanated friends need to know. Nobody's trying to get them back for the horrific things done. They just need the horrific things to stop, and that, going forward, we can respect each other better because we know better. We know that it hasn't come to any good. It's only torn us down further. Whatever power trip that Putin is on, it's not making Russia better by any means. It's not helping any of us in any way. And if ego leads us down a road that makes us think that the perception of power is enough to feel good about our lives, they're finding it very quick that it's not. It's not turning out to be good for anyone. And, it's best if we can be mindful of what we would like to have in our lives and contribute towards that first and foremost in our own lives, and also be willing to share. That's the whole premise behind tithing, is to invest in a future that you want to be healthy. You give from what you've received, and you also reap from what you've given. And that's all we're all expected to do, because we know that it's true.
Ooh, we are getting the truth here today. Oh, I love it. And we're straying into what is traditionally our wrap-up, which is our vision, right? And your vision, Reverend Celeste, for how exactly New Thought is making a difference in the lives of the next generation and 7 generations down the road, and we're dancing that vision right here. We've been sharing it, you've been expressing it. So let's do this, folks. We're gonna say thank you to our sponsors real quick, then we're gonna come back with our final thoughts for the day and wrap this up with Reverend Celeste Frazier. You're watching New Thought today on the New Thought Media Network. Please help us say thank you to our financial sponsors and our committed givers.
Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, for your continued support. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown Atlanta, for your monthly contribution. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, for your monthly contribution. And please help us welcome Om Center for Spiritual Living in La Mesa, California. Thank you for your monthly donation. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, for your most generous donation. And a special thanks to Hefferlin Foundation for your generous technology grant. And Suze Ajit, thank you for your very generous donation. And a super special thank you to Dr. Tracy Brown, RSCP. Thanks for being a super donor. And a big shout out to all our committed donors.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you, dear ones, for being a part of the New Thought Media Network. To all of our committed givers there, if you'd like to get your name on that video, just head on over to the website ntmedia.org, click on donate, make it a monthly, and we'll get you in the next version of the video. All right, dear ones, we are just almost running out of time. We've got a few minutes left here before we go. We're going to start with some final thoughts, and let's kick it to Z first this week and let him get us started.
Yeah, well, I think for me the final thoughts are, there's an ancient African saying that goes, each one teach one, and that's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to create an environment that allows each of us to teach and learn from each other, so that at the end of the day we're wiser, smarter, and more equipped to build this world that works for everyone.
Beautiful. Reverend Celeste.
Well, I have to say, as a final thought for today, is oneness is, it always has been, and it always will be. This idea of the United States of America came perhaps not on the loftiest of ideals, but it has become such a multicultural place. It's not a melting pot, because we don't want people's cultures to melt into each other, but we do want to enjoy what the gumbo tastes like. So what I'm inviting us into is to embrace the diversity. Diversity is simply a fact. There's all kinds of plants, there's all kinds of trees, there's all kinds of people. And inclusion works in every direction. We get to include people regardless of their physical capabilities, whether they can use their eyesight or their ears to see and hear. We're all part of this tapestry created by omniscience, the wisest being that is. Mm-hmm. And so for us to come together is something that we're doing by divine appointment. That's why we've been called together to be together. And I invite you to come to Celebrating Our Soul, experience maybe an aspect of life you haven't experienced. And for those of African descent, come on home and let's party. And so for everybody, just know that there's always going to be an opportunity when pure hearts open doors for us to be together. And I invite you to take advantage of those opportunities.
Yeah, thank you. Reverend Celeste, thank you so much for being with us today. For myself, folks, if we're living in a world of oneness, we've got to take advantage of the opportunities that are before us to demonstrate our belief and to walk our talk. Celebrating Our Soul is one of those things. I hope this program is one of those things for you as well. Please share this broadcast with your friends. Let people know what we're doing. Let them know about this conversation. And as I've mentioned, the conversations that'll be coming over the next few months, you're going to hear a lot more about this from the New Thought Media Network. I'm Rev Robert. On behalf of everyone here, thank you for being with us. We wish you all the best, peace, and richest blessings.
One love.